Audrey Edwards, welcome.
Thank you, Karen. I am delighted to be here, and I'm sorry I'm so tech challenged that I can't get up on Zoom on my new
That's
computer.
okay.
So I
Listen,
apologize.
as long as I can hear your voice, we are good because I want to get your story. All right, so take us back to 2015, 2016. Trump is elected. Tell us a story about your exit.
Okay. First of all, when Trump announced he was running, I live in New York. He's in New York. People and I do real estate in New York. That was a joke. The fact that he was running for the presidency was a joke. My attitude was, if this man gets in, I'm leaving the country. He got in. I was stunned. But I knew I had to go because I knew instinctively if someone who had never, ever held elected office of any kind, I don't know if the man was even a hall monitor in grade school, is now suddenly the leader of the greatest superpower in the world, the leader of the free world, with no political experience of any kind, I knew I didn't want to be here. I knew it said something about the country politically, and it said something about the country racially. And I said, I'm gone. I'm gone.
Why?
I didn't think I'd be gone 4 years. I didn't think I'd be gone 4 years because, you know, the 3-month litmus test that every new president is put through, I just knew in 3 months he would be ousted because it would be so apparent that he was not qualified, that he was incompetent. Now, he showed that to me in those first 3 months, but what I found shocking was that it went into 4 months and a year and 2 years. And during that time, I said, you need to make plans about how you can be here on a more permanent basis. Because all of my instincts were telling me America is not the place you're going to want to be if this man is running the country. Had no idea that it would be as bad as it has turned out to be.
Audrey Edwards, so you left for what you thought was going to be a short stay. You went to Paris, France. Why Paris, France? I know that James Baldwin went there. I know Josephine Baker went there. I know that Paul Robeson went there. I know that Richard Wright went. I know there were a lot of black folk during the last time we felt this angst. Went to Paris, went to France. Why did you go this time?
I've always loved Paris. The first time I went was in 1980. I was 30. I thought I would not retire, but come back at 35 and be this, cool, hip chick living in Paris. But Paris has a 100-year-old history of black Americans fleeing American racism. It goes back to World War I, where the black troops fought alongside the French troops. The French came to really respect the black soldiers. They were courageous, they were daring, and they really helped save France. France had lost the most soldiers during World War I, and the black troops in many ways were pivotal in them being victorious. And these same troops, the war ended in 1919, these same troops went back to America to the red summer of 1919. There were 30 race riots, hundreds of black folk killed in cities throughout America. The returning soldiers came back to an America that was more racist than ever. And a lot of them didn't go home. And a lot of them wrote letters talking about a city that was beautiful, where they were treated with respect. They could ride at the front of the trolley. They could dine anywhere they wanted. They didn't have to step aside if a white person was walking down the street. The French's attitude was, you're a human being. Color had nothing to do with it. So for the first time in the experience of these young men, they were not confronted with rampant, brutal racism. And a lot of them stayed. And
1919, hold on, 1919, in the midst of the Spanish flu, which we don't talk about, right? Men are returning home to a world on fire with confidence, though, because they have fought and won, and they're contribution helped America win World War I as well. So they came back thinking, I'm going to be treated like a man, and were treated like dogs and weren't standing for it. And we just talked earlier with people from Tulsa, Oklahoma. That very next year, it was Tulsa, right? And the same men that fought in that war were fighting for Dick Rowland to not be lynched. And that decimated that city. So what you're saying is stunning as we put all of the pieces together. So going back this time with this history, what was the process of staying? Did you have to get a visa to stay?
First of all, I tried to retire to Paris 10 years before in 2007. My roommate from college, white woman, married a Frenchman. She had been in Paris over 20 years. I had a good friend who was the cousin of someone who lived in Paris. I had met a Frenchman in 2007 who owned a studio. So I knew I possibly had a place to live, and I had two people that I knew. And one of the things I was very clear on at this age, retirement age, and I was running as an old lady. It's not like I was 25 and I'm going to get on a plane and go hang out in Paris. I'm over 65. So this was a big move. I kind of viewed it as a kickoff to retirement. But I also knew at this age I could not go to a city where I didn't know anybody. So that was number one. I didn't speak the language, which to me was kind of an impediment because I'm a writer, and my attitude is if you're in the communication business, you should certainly be able to communicate with the people in the country that you say you want to live in. So I did try to learn French in 2007. It's harder when you're older. There are some things that are just harder. But I had a base, and Paris has always had, for 100 years, a Black expat community. And a lot of people don't realize that. There are a lot of Black Americans who've been living in Paris for years. And I knew many of them. I didn't know a lot, but I knew enough to feel that I had a community of people. So I was not going in totally cold, not knowing anyone, and not speaking the language. I never would have done that. And Paris is also just beautiful. It's just beautiful. And I said, well, even if I don't speak the language, I can just walk around all day and look at the beautiful architecture and look at the parks and museums and the castle and the art. I mean, the people are so cultured and so into beauty. And it's one of the things they have always admired about Black Americans. And what happened in the 20s when the musicians started coming and the writers and the painters, the French people looked at Black Americans who had come out of brutal slavery and said, oh my God, these people create beautiful music. They walk with a certain style. They talk a certain way. They dress a certain way. They themselves, the French, have style. And they really admired the Black American aesthetic. And for us, for Black people, coming from a country where nothing was admired, we were beaten down constantly. This was totally, my God, it's like this is what freedom is. And it was the appeal to Richard Wright. It was the appeal to James Baldwin. They could create in a city and a country that granted them their humanity and respected their talent as writers. And the French have always respected what I call the nobility of the Black American struggle. They've always respected our art. And they're, very upfront about it. Josephine Baker was a huge star in Paris. Mm-hmm. In America, she left America because she said, I was afraid of being Black. She said, it got to a point I was afraid of being Black. And she was a star on Broadway, but she was never going to get the kind of recognition or make the kind of money that she made as an entertainer in Paris. And in Paris, traveled throughout Europe. Huge star in a way that she never would have been in America. So
Audrey Edwards.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's a little bit of delay too. So just Audrey Edwards is here. American Runaway is her book. Talk a little bit about the downside to leaving. So, we have a lot of people that want to talk to you online, holding on. Some of our callers want to ask questions, so I'm going to get to them as well. But were there any negatives to leaving and being gone now 3+ years?
You know, you always miss your family. You know, I have a son and daughter-in-law and 4 granddaughters. I missed them. I missed my friends. I missed my bigger apartment by comparison. I lived in an apartment that was about the size of a postage stamp. But the thing about the French, they have a lot of style, so it was exquisitely designed. It was very, very functional. It was probably, 200 square feet of space, about the size of my bedroom in Brooklyn, to tell you the truth. So that could be, in the winter, that was a little challenging because it was heated by a space heater. And, honey, you know, in America, we love our central heat. The French central heat is not big in Europe. So it's space heaters, it's fireplaces. I mean, there are modern buildings that have central heat. But that took some getting used to, especially since 2017 was one of the worst winters in French history. The temperatures dropped to the lowest they've been in 30 years. So that was the challenge. But for the most part, I loved it. And I was surprised that I did not miss America more. I really didn't miss it. As I said, there was a Black American community of people that I liked, and we did a lot of things. The downsides, I would say, were minimal for me. There was more to recommend it than not.
Okay.
And I miss it very much now because I can't travel. You know, the French aren't letting the Americans in because of COVID.
Wow. So your family can't come visit you. You can't leave. We're talking again with Audrey Edwards. Tell us a little bit about how the French are viewing us. How are they viewing us? America right now.
Now I'm here. I'm here, Karen. I came at the end. I came back for the holidays, and when COVID hit, and we were.
Oh, wait a minute! You're in America?
I'm in Brooklyn.
You're in Brooklyn right now, and you can't go back to France because you got trapped here visiting for the holidays.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I have a ticket. Right. I have a ticket to go back.
But they're not letting you in.
No, they're not letting any Americans in. Countries around the world are not letting Americans in. See, this is a story that's not getting really reported a lot. Now, Americans have been banned from most of the countries in the world, including the Bahamas. Somebody said, we can't go to the Bahamas. And I'm like, really? No, we are banned. So I'm here because I can't be there. That's the only reason I'm here.
So what do you think is going to happen with this election, Audrey? What do you think is going to happen in November?
I have no idea, Karen. I have no idea. I do believe, given the despicable performance by Trump during that presidential debate, if we see 2 more of those, I really believe the American people will probably get it and say, wait a minute, this guy is unhinged. He's, you look at him and he cannot be engendering any kind of trust or faith. So I think he will do himself in. I think he'll do himself in. I really do.
I'm not as optimistic as you are about how people perceive him, but I do think Joe Biden will win in a landslide, but I don't know what the fallout's going to be. So this is why we're having this conversation. The book is called American Runaway. Let's take some calls. 866-801-8255 is the number. Lawrence in Massachusetts. Thanks for calling. Welcome.
Yes. Hello, Karen. First of all, I want to say I love you, but I have some deep concerns about the conversation today, and so I hope you will hear me. First of all, I think it's very elitist, and it's something that most black people cannot do is pick up and leave. And I think even if we look at the overall history of blacks in Europe and those that left, even James Baldwin and Josephine Baker in the day, they were one in a few. But at the end of Josephine Baker's life, she was sitting on that porch when they had displaced her from her home and her children with no money and no place really to go. So I think we need to talk. Your show does a great service to the black community, but we've got to look at those those black folks who can't pick up and leave and go to Europe. And let's don't forget that the mayor of France many years ago, said this city stinks of Africans, because many of the Africans from Senegal and other places had dual citizenship, when times got rough in their country, came to France, and they weren't treated so well.
Oh, no. You're absolutely right. It's not. I don't think you didn't hear me say I was going to France. But France does have a history with Black Americans, and Black Americans are perceived differently there than Africans. Yes. You're absolutely right, Lawrence. This is a very elite conversation we're having right now. I don't discount that. You're absolutely right. Wait, hold on, Audrey. Let me just have this moment with Lawrence, because he's absolutely right. Not everyone can pick up and leave. My job here is to give people options. My job here is to give you as many possibilities as possible. If you happen to be in a situation where you can't pick up and leave, then let's talk about that as well. But if you can go, I want to be able to. I don't want any stone to be unturned. So I feel where you're coming from. I feel your the pain that you may be experiencing listening to this conversation, and feeling like we're talking like elitists because ooh la la. I'm not doing that for that reason. I respect what you're saying. You're 100% correct. Okay, Audrey, let him know why it's not affordable or is affordable, or how he should be seeing this.
Oh, I want to go back to our history in America. We have always picked up and left. That's what the Great Migration was about. That huge movement of people from the South to the North. Those people who packed up in wagons all of their belongings and got on a wagon and headed north. We've always picked up and left. Now, whether we are leaving in a wagon or getting on a jet and flying out, we are people who have always moved and left when the circumstances were such that we did not want to tolerate it anymore. We've always had that kind of free agency. And to say we can't, I don't buy that. That is not true. It's not our history. It's not our history.
You're right. You're right. We were talking this week with a guy. Hold on. We were talking this week with a guy, Bill Perkins, who is gathering all of the runaway enslaved people notices, and people ran away. They left when their life was on the line. If they got caught, like, they still left, even if they had it good, they left. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right about that. Two things could be true. I do feel what Lawrence is saying, though, because there may be some people listening who did not save their money over the last 5-6 years, who did not see the storm coming, even though it was talked about quite frequently here, who did not prepare. And they may be angry with themselves. You're not angry with me, you're angry with yourself, because you didn't put yourself in a position to be able to make moves. What did it require, Audrey, for you to make this move? How much did you have to save? How long in advance did you plan? Or did you just have a great retirement package that you were able to leave to go to France? And how expensive is it once you got there?
I didn't have a retirement package of any kind, because I have been independent for the last 30 years. I'm a real estate broker. I'm a writer. So I did not have a 401k. The pension that I had, I self-funded, but I didn't start that until I was 50. I kept my apartment. I was fortunate enough to be able to do that. I had a place to live that was inexpensive by Parisian and New York standards. So I was fortunate with that too. I've been very fortunate, and I know people, and that's been a huge help, just having